Today we are going to build a little project to help you park your car in the garage. So what we got here, we got this little 3D printed box. I will have the files online for that. We got this ultrasonic distance measure, so we got that. We got this time-of-flight module. This one actually uses kind of like a laser to send out a pulse and back, so it's a lot faster and more accurate than the ultrasonic, and I figure we'd throw both on there for fun. So we got that. We have this little ESP32 C3 Super Mini module. I love these little boards. It'll be plenty for this. And then we have this little tiny, it's a 0.91 inch OLED display. All this stuff was super cheap. And then we got a bunch of LEDs and some push buttons and some screws and resistors. So let's throw this thing together and check it out. First thing we got to do is we will stick everything into our main front panel. Let me show you how everything goes here. So this is designed to, we're going to kind of glue this in place, but it might be a little tight on purpose. So that's a pretty snug fit. So we'll glue that in. We got our time-of-flight sensor that'll go here, push buttons, the ultrasonic, and then all the LEDs in here. So let's get this thing rolling. Let me turn on my glue gun. So we're going to glue the display in place and the ultrasonic sensor in place. One thing we're going to have to remove these because they kind of get in the way under here. Actually, we're okay with it on there. We'll leave them on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the green up here, yellow in the middle, and then the red on the bottom. So while the glue gun is heating up, let's go ahead and start populating those. On these LEDs, the long lead is the positive and the short lead is the negative, so we just got to keep that in mind. They're going to be a little bit of a tight fit on purpose to try to hold that together. So what we'll do is we're going to kind of angle them off to the side here. So we'll put the green on top, and we'll kind of point all of the negatives into the middle and the positives to the outside, and that's just so we can kind of solder it all together like that, make it nice and easy. So we'll press all these in here. Like that. Then if you got little pliers, it's better to bend it over like that. If you don't, you can just go for it. It's probably not that big of a deal. So the important thing is just to make sure that none of these are touching the other leads. So we'll just kind of fold all these into the middle. And I'm going to cut them all off here. So we're going to do it just like that. We'll add some wire to that next. Alright, so we got the green in there. Let's do the yellow. Make sure they're not touching anywhere. And let's do the red. Long leads to the outside. Looks good, looks like we got everything. Alright, so LEDs are in there. Now, let's go ahead and let's install our little time-of-flight sensor. So there's a cutout in the back so you can solder the pins in later. And they're just little M3 screws. So the important thing is this is the sensor, so make sure it's facing outward. We also have these push buttons that need to go in here. So, and they just kind of press in. So let's go ahead and press these guys in there. And it's a little tight. And by little I mean very. We'll put some hot glue over this too. Okay, so this will be our up and down, or to change our distance. So we can kind of fine tune it. Alright, got the two push buttons, time of flight. Now we have the ultrasonic sensor is going to go like that. And I didn't have small enough screws to actually do this, so I'm just going to hot glue gun this in place. But I think I'm going to solder these other wires first. And then we also have our display module. Let's go ahead and hot glue gun that in. So I'm just going to put, doesn't really need that much, but let's do that. So we'll just stick it in there like that. You can still get to the wires on the back side there. Well, let's start adding some wires to these guys now. Okay, so we are going to need VN, ground, SCL, so VN, I'll just slide that in there. Alright, power wire, ground wire, so let's get some wires on the display. We got ground and VCC, so let's do ground again. So ground is the square one on this guy. Alright, we got the ground on there. Now we need VCC. And then we got SCK and SDA. We'll do SCL to SCK. And then we'll do the SDAs together because they're all going to be on the same bus. And I'll have the schematic on there so you guys can look at that as well. Alright, so all these both run on 3.3 volts. This has 3.3 volt and 5 volt, and this runs on 5 volt. So we'll have to do a little voltage divider on there. Alright, now we got those. Have some wires in it at least. Now we can hook up, glue this guy into place and start wiring that up. Yellow VCC, and then we use green for ground, blue for trigger. You can use whatever colors you guys want to. Alright, that looks good. Go ahead and glue these guys on. So this board is designed to fit in the housing like that. Kind of push it down into the USB slot and then push it down and it'll lock it into place. That way when you put a USB in here, it's got something backing it up. And then we'll just need to solder on all these connections here. So I put it on the bottom, that way it's facing down. And so we're going to do all the solder connections like this. So we'll loop all this stuff back up and around. And I'm going to add a little slack on here. So all the grounds tie together. So also all of these center posts are ground. Alright, we got that in there. I'm going to pull this back out for now. So we got ground right there. Alright, then we got our 5 volt here. The trigger is going to go to pin 4 here. So So the trigger is on this one is the blue wire. Alright, and then on the purple one, it gets a little different because this has a 5-volt output, but this has a 3.3 volt output, and you should use like a logic level shifter. Alright, we're back. My camera overheated. Alright, so I cut that down. I'm going to add some shrink tube to that. I'm going to cut this other one down. This is the SLK. This is the clock and the data. This is our 3.3 volt line. So orange is SDA, and SDA is on pin 8. So pin 8 over here. Alright, and then our clock is yellow, and that goes on pin 9. So it goes right next to it on 9. And then our red goes to our 3.3 volt line over here. Now what do we got left? We have the switches and the LEDs. So on the LEDs, we got a 100 ohm resistor. That is what we're going to use on each one of these. So I think what we'll do, just kind of solder them in here and then add some wire to it. Alright, welcome back. Now we are going to, we got everything soldered up, so we are going to start loading it up with some hot glue to get everything to stay here. So I'm just going to hit all the wires, make sure they don't move around. Get it all over the wires so they don't fall out. Okay, now let's see if we can actually get this board in here with all these wires. So we'll push that down into the USB slot. Alright, that's in there good. And then this is designed just to snap into place. There are screw holes, so you'll want to take it out, put the screws in wherever you want it, and then you can snap it into place. And look at that, it worked. And then I did add some grooves, so if you have to pop the cover off to move it, you can do that pretty easy. Alright, so we got her up and down. Got our display, ultrasonic, got the laser. Make sure there's no hot glue on the laser. We can put a little hot glue on the contacts here so they're not exposed. We are going to install this little level shifter, and it converts the 5 volt down to 3.3 volt for the ultrasonic sensor. So we'll crack this thing open. As you can see, it's real easy to pop open with a screwdriver. And then I'm actually going to take this board out. So with this guy, you can see we got ground, low voltage, which will be the 3.3 volt. We have ground, high voltage, which is our 5 volt. And then we are going to use the LV2 and HV2. So the signal from the ultrasonic sensor is going to go into HV2 and then out of LV2 into the ESP32. So this wire here was off of the ultrasonic, and we will solder that onto our HV2. And then we have ground, so let's run a little ground wire off of this. Okay, so pretty much we just tied it to this ground pin right here. We got the ground tied in. We need to tie in the 5 volt and the 3.3. Looks like we got some edge space there, so we'll use that. So I'm just going to use red. Let's see if we can just solder it right on like that. And the 5 volts. Alright, so now we got 3 and 5. 3.3 and 5. Let's add them off to the side here. So 3.3 is going to go on the low voltage. Then the 5 volts will go to the high voltage side. Alright, now we got it. We got ground going to ground, to both grounds, ground and ground. We've got GPIO 5 going into the low voltage 2. We have our ultrasonic sensor echo output going to HV2. We've got 3.3 volts going to our low voltage, and we have our 5 volt going to our high voltage. And that should do it. Let's try it out. And then we'll just install this back into the box. Just push it in there, snap it in. This guy I'm gonna leave floating for now, and the wires will keep it out of the way. So there it is. Let's try it out. Alright, we got it all booted up. And so when it's too close, when it's under your, so you got red is 26 inches, yellow's 42 inches, green's 58, and then the W is for the flashing. When it's under 20 inches, it'll flash. So then when we hit the up button, it'll change everything by an inch. So you can kind of fine tune it. So let's turn it way down here to like 1 inch or so, or a few inches. See how low it can go. Yeah, so W is for warning, the warning flash. So right now it's picking up the camera because it's pretty close. So 6 inches is as low as we can go. Let's see if I can move this. Alright, so you can still see it. So we got green, yellow, and red. And then if we get any closer, then it'll start flashing the warning. Pretty cool.